Hello, Tim here again. Um, I just wanted to have a quick chat about an interview I saw on the YouTube channel Trigonometry a few days ago with a gentleman called Matt Ridley, who's a co-author of a book about the Wuhan Lab leak theory for COVID. Sounds like a very interesting book. I haven't read it, but I probably will. And I think it's probably worth looking into from the things that he said on there about the lab leak theory. And certainly, it seems to me over the last couple of months, certainly since the turn of the year, that the lab leak theory has gained a bit more traction. Well, it certainly hasn't been discounted uphand as it was a couple of years ago. And I think that's partly because the evidence for the species-to-species transfer via the wet markets and people eating bats or whatever just isn't there at the moment. And so the presence of the Wuhan Lab seems to be more than just coincidental, especially considering the type of work that is undertaken there. As I understand it, they're actually doing research into pandemics or the potential pandemics and the possible next pandemic viruses. And this is potentially why COVID was present in that region, because leaks do happen. They've happened in the past from labs which are supposed to be secure, and sometimes these things just happen. I think we need to perhaps understand better what it is that these places do, because there's obviously a risk element in terms of researching into what might be the next pandemic, because you may inadvertently create the next pandemic, which is something we'd all rather avoid. And I think there needs to be a bit more popular knowledge, popular debate, or certainly a bit more clarity about what exactly goes on at these places that we can all access. At the moment, there's probably, I think, most of the decisions about what happens at these places and who's responsible for what is at an executive government level. And perhaps there needs to be a bit more openness from the executive about the decisions that they've made in respect to these things, because the consequences could be pretty extensive and perhaps even have been already with COVID. So we need to perhaps have a look at that in a bit more detail. And the other thing that I think has struck me about the COVID situation is just the extent or the speed with which the government can take over in a way that I'd never really considered before, or even knew was possible, in terms of telling us who we can have into our homes, who we can't have into our homes, who we can meet outside in public places, and even to the extent in some parts of the world as to what you can and can't put into your body, or what you must put into your body in order to take part in free society and to enjoy freedom of association. That's one of the main things that's come out of this COVID pandemic for me, is just the rate at which governments have been able to exercise arbitrary, it seems to me, and extensive powers. And that's quite frightening in a way. And I think we need to have more popular level discussion about what that means and about the extent of those powers, and what we should do if necessary in the future to ensure those powers aren't abused, because potentially they are open to abuse. And we need to protect ourselves and also protect future generations from that potential abuse, especially as it seems over the last, well, certainly during the whole of my lifetime, government just seems to get bigger and bigger, and the state seems to get bigger and bigger. And therefore, of course, it becomes more prevalent in everyday life. So yeah, these are things that need to be spoken about, and I'd be interested to hear what people out there think. So please do leave a comment. And if you're interested in the sort of things I've been saying, hopefully I'll have a chance to say a few more things over the next few weeks, and perhaps I might look in a bit more detail into this book about the COVID Wuhan lab leak theory, and also more generally into government powers, in terms of emergency powers and all that sort of stuff, and talk more about these things and see what other people have got to say. As I say, please do comment and get back to you. All right, thanks very much indeed. All the best.